Coming up in the news, the cost of building supplies hitting Bahamians hard in the pockets. Also, residents react to the historic court appeal ruling on citizenship. And it was a close call yesterday afternoon for the occupants of 3 vehicles traveling on the Warren J. Laverty Highway. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Bahamas, I'm Shashina Roll-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news this evening, remembering the volunteers of Hurricane Dorian. Today, the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction Authority hosting a service of appreciation for the volunteers of Hurricane Dorian for the acts of kindness shown before, during, and following the storm. The ceremony taking place this morning at the Calvary Temple Assemblies of God. Our Jamila Mizik was there.
They are being recognized as heroes and are being reminded that their contributions have not gone unnoticed. Hundreds of volunteers honored in a special ceremony for their assistance at the time of Hurricane Dorian. Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture and Member of Parliament for Central Grants, Bahama, the Honorable Aram Lewis, thanking those volunteers for the service they would have given before, during, and after Hurricane Dorian. He recalls personally seeing many of them step up during one of the worst storms to ever hit the Bahamas.
What you did cannot be measured in money. What you did cannot be measured in emotions, cannot be measured even in love. What you did is immeasurable. And I say that without fear of contradiction. And I can say to you today, I do not have the reward for you. But on that last day, when you were to stand before your Lord and Maker, He will say to you, well done, good and faithful servant.
Also bringing remarks, Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources and Member of Parliament for Marcos City, the Honorable Michael Pintard. Pintard says the impact of Hurricane Dorian is not yet over, as he appealed to those who have given so much of themselves to continue their good efforts.
There are still some homes that are not yet repaired. There are still families across Grand Bahama that are still hungry. There are persons who are trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. And as we say thanks today, we are asking you to give one more measure of that generosity of spirit that you have. As only Grand Bahamians know more than any other group in this country who have come through repeated disasters, we have a way of pulling together that's unimaginable. We need you once again to pull together so that we can be our brothers and sisters' keepers.
Keynote speaker, Minister of Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction and Member of Parliament for West Grants, Bahama and Bimini, the Honorable Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe, extending gratitude to all of the honorees.
You did not have to do it. You could have chosen to stay indoors and carry on with your lives. You could have chosen to sit back and watch. You could have chosen to have someone else step forward, but you came forward. As my ministry moves forward in strengthening policy and legislation surrounding disaster preparedness, management, and reconstruction, we do so recognizing that we too have a role to play. There must be stronger working systems and shelters, an increase in capacity, better communication. There must be put in place legislation that protects each and every one of you, as many of you would have also lost during the storm, while helping the government of the day and helping others. It is only right.
Minister Parker Edgecombe maintains that the government is taking a proactive approach and is focused on putting in place safety measures for everyone.
The mandatory evacuation orders have since come into effect. Our country remains an active member of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA. We are insured as a nation in the event of a disaster. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, continues to solidify its mandate of preparing and managing disasters, and the newly formed Disaster Reconstruction Authority is progressing in its recovery and reconstruction efforts.
The honorees were all presented with certificates for their volunteerism and service. Jamila Missick, ZNS Network News.
Well, building supplies hitting the pockets of Bahamians hard. There appears to be an apparent shortage of building supplies in the Bahamas as the prices of those critical items have increased across the world. Tonight, the manager of a well-known company on the island of Abaco is providing insight on this issue, and he says it is creating a problem for those residents who are in the process of rebuilding their homes and businesses following Hurricane Dorian. Italia Hall has more.
Premier Imports in Abaco, Ken Hutton, says the high cost of building supplies is affecting Abaco and perhaps the entire country. He says even some states in the United States, including Florida, are being impacted. Hutton says the price of supplies on the market is out of control.
Generally, since January, lumber prices have gone up by close to 300% in general. Inflation on appliances and things for rebuilding is running at around 15 to 20 right now. So it's not just plywood. It's not just, I'm looking at, half inch plywood at Home Depot right now is $81.
And as to what is causing this price hike,
I think it's a combination of things. I think that I know that we had, COVID certainly didn't help. It shut down a lot of mills. It caused strain on the supply chain. So there was less supply being milled. The mills were not able to process it. At the same time, you had a bunch of people who stuck at home, who wanted to do something while they were at home. So they started doing, home projects. So that put pressure on the market that wasn't there before.
he says the situation is devastating in Abaco, especially for those residents who are in the process of rebuilding.
When a year ago at this time, your cost of rebuilding has gone up by almost 300%. So, and that's assuming you can actually get the supplies when you need them. So, it's devastating to the rebuilding efforts. Not only that, but again, our economy has not returned in full yet. So, people are struggling with employment. You're struggling with employment, and then the price goes up for everything.
Now, recently, the government announced that the Special Economic Recovery Zone order, which includes construction and building supplies, will be extended until December 2021.
And we're grateful for that. So, at least there is that people will be able to save on the duty and the VAT, at least until the end of December. We're obviously hoping that it gets extended again. Because we have at least 3 to 5 years of steady rebuilding before we can even think of being back to where we were prior to Dorian.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
A landmark ruling in the Court of Appeal leading to high public debate. Tonight, the Grand Bahama community is weighing in on the discussion on children born out of wedlock to Bahamian men having the right to automatic citizenship. The Court of Appeal has upheld a 2020 landmark ruling from the Supreme Court on the issue of citizenship that says all children born out of wedlock to Bahamian men and foreign women are citizens at birth and do not have to wait until they are 18 to apply for citizenship. It has been a long uphill battle for many born in the country to Bahamian fathers, yet many remain stateless as they are not granted automatic citizenship. Well, we took to the streets to see how residents feel about the ruling, and although most women were shy about speaking on camera, the men were not, many of whom agree with the ruling.
Yeah, you should be able to keep your family lineage going, and whatever your father has should pass on to the son, vice versa for the mother.
Well, I feel that it's good, when we look at the child now has a sense of belonging.
We're not saying that the woman gets citizenship. We're saying that that child gets citizenship. A child should not be born into asylum because of some dance between an adult male and an adult female. That's not fair to the child.
While some took to social media to express their disagreement with the ruling, here's what these men say is so hypocritical about the situation.
Are we not doing this already when Bahamian women become pregnant and they go to the United States to have their child so that they can gain access to the benefits?
Last night I was watching the NBA games, and there's a player there who's good. He's born in the Bahamas by African parents, and he is being pointed out as a Bahamian-born individual. Now, we would have no problem with that because it's fame and glory. So what happened to the others? No one staying higher than the next. The point is that we must be fair and honest.
But the question has now been asked as to whether or not children born in the Bahamas to both foreign parents should be granted citizenship as well.
We don't have the resources to take on foreigners, but we should take on our own.
If they come here and they have a baby here, you should give them rights to have their passport and their papers.
When you're born in a country, you should have the right to take on that citizenship.
Now, Attorney General Carl Bethel says the Court of Appeals ruling has resulted in people turning up to the Parliamentary Registration Department demanding to be registered to vote or for passports, seeking to claim the benefits of full Bahamian status. But he says the matter is being appealed again to the Privy Council. However, these residents do not believe that this should happen.
That's a mistake.
Well, I don't understand why they would want to overturn something. Are we certain that the female foreigner, where she is from, is going to accept the child as being wherever she is from?
They don't know but no other country or no other place. They didn't born in the country their parents come from, so I think you should give them the rights to have their papers right away.
Shoshana Farquharson, 13 migrants appearing in court this week in Freeport and pleading guilty to illegal embarkation. They were each fined $300 or, in default, ordered to serve 1 month at the Bahamas Department of Corrections. All migrants paid their fines and have since been flown into the nation's capital to the Immigration Detention Center, where they will await deportation to their country of origin. The migrants, 7 Haitian females, 4 adult Haitian males, 1 Jamaican national, and 1 Colombian, were turned over to immigration officials last Friday at the Freeport Harbor by officials of the U.S. Coast Guard. Reports say the group was on board It's a Southern Thing, a 35-foot Intrepid vessel, when they were intercepted by U.S. officials some 8 miles east of Hanover Inlet, Florida. The suspected smugglers, 2 Bahamian males ages 56 and 28, were detained for further investigations with a view of prosecution for human smuggling. Well, it was a close call yesterday afternoon for the occupants of 3 vehicles traveling on the Warren J. Lavarity Highway. Police call it a 3-car collision involving a red Chevy truck, a truck operated by a construction company, and a large rig truck owned by Bahamas Sanitary Engineering Limited. The rig vehicle and the red Chevy truck incurred extensive damage, but police say there were no serious injuries. Investigations are continuing. Grand Bahamas COVID-19 cases back in the double digits. A total of 60 cases reported in the country yesterday. 12 in Grand Bahama, 1 in Abaco, 2 in Bimini and Catkey, 2 in Andros, and 43 in New Providence. The death toll has increased to 245 following the death of a 40-year-old female of New Providence on June 23rd. Hospitalized cases are all around 37, all in New Providence. There are 703 active cases right now. 11,434 have recovered to date. Meantime, you are reminded to observe health protocols to limit the spread of the deadly virus. Wear your mask, wash your hands regularly, and always keep your distance of at least 6 feet. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this break.